are studying a lesson called Reaching the Age of Adolescence. So we know that what is adolescence. From child, from a newborn child till I grow in certain period. So when I attain a term called maturity or puberty. So where there is a secondary growth, the first growth till the age of 10 or 11 or 12, after that till 19 or 20, the age of growth, that is a secondary growth, not the primary growth. Primary growth means, for example, from the newborn child till the age of 10 or 11, that is called the primary growth. Secondary growth, so suddenly we can observe at the age of 10, 11 or 12 or 13. So some of the changes in our body as a boys or a girl. For example, if you take boys at the age of 12, 13, voice, there will be a changing of their voice. Vocal cord is increasing, the size is increasing, that is especially near the voice box, that is called Adam's apple. So that I will explain. And then, so mustache, beard, etc. beard, and then, so the growth, it takes very fast in that age. So body will be widening, shoulder will be widening, etc. So that is in boys. In girls, so the total, again here there is no changing of voice like boys. So but according to that there is a change in girls also. They will start some menstruation every month, and then so there is a production of when the child will born as a female, she will start to produce an egg, but the egg will mature. So that is called the sexual cells. It will mature in the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, etc. So when it will start to mature, so if it is no fertilization, so from the body it will flow outside. So with the fluid, etc. that's called the menstruation. So these will start in girls, and the shoulder will be widening, and also maybe the hip portion. So it will be a little widened. So these are the changes in the girls. And growth of hair in some of the parts, so that is an interior part of the body. So it shows it is a starting stage of secondary growth. So whether it is possible as it is, no, the secondary growth is because of a substance, because of some chemicals. That is nothing but a term called hormone. So these hormones are the chemical messengers. For example, in our body there are the two control and coordination centers. The brain is a control and coordinating organ. But all the information activity by it is the chemical signals, some will be nervous system. So it will take the two. Chemical coordination also is there, and electrical impulse. So it is by the brain, nerves, etc. So these together control our all activity. So to control these chemical coordination in our body, so as I said, there is a chemical substance. It's not only related to your sexual maturity, but also it regulates all work in a systematic order. So a chemical substance secreted in our body only, and then it will circulate to different target organ. Target organ means, for example, specific organ. So it should work systematically in that part. So all these chemicals will flow. So these chemicals are nothing but hormones. Where it will present? In our body, I said it is present, but in our body there is two systems are there, and the two parts are there. That is, one is called the gland. What do you mean by gland? A gland is an organ made up of cells. A gland is an organ made up of cells which are specialized for the secretion of particular chemical substances. What do you mean by gland? A gland is an organ made up of cells. It is made up of cells, a gland. So each gland which are specialized for secretion of some chemical substances. It's not all related to our sexual maturity, but we are studying reaching the age of adolescence, where in that period which are the hormones secreted in boys and girls, and rest of the hormones we are going to study. So that system is called endocrine system. So in endocrine gland and exocrine gland. Endocrine means a ductless gland. For example, if you take pituitary. So if you take pituitary gland, so it is a ductless gland. Ductless means there is no such part to store all the chemicals. Ductless gland where it will secrete directly to our blood. One more it is there, that is called with the duct. With the duct means, so whatever the secretion is there, it will flow there, and whenever we want, it will secrete it from that part. So that is called with the duct, that is called exocrine. Endocrine, exocrine. We are not studying all the exocrine glands, but we are studying majority endocrine glands, because from the endocrine system or the gland where the male sexual hormone, that is the female sexual hormone, is producing secondary growth related. So that's why this year we are going to study an endocrine system. What is endocrine system? Endocrine system is a system where ductless gland. What is a gland? A gland is a group of organ of a cell. So where it's an organ made up of cells, which is meant for specialized to secrete chemical substances. Now, which are the endocrine gland system is present in our body? It is very important to you for the examination point of view. So first you will learn what is hormone. We studied a chemical substance secreted in our body only. So there are two types. One is a ductless gland, that is endocrine. Duct with the duct, it is called exocrine gland. So which are the endocrine gland is present in our body, and also we are not studying all the subdivisions of the gland because it is only for you. It is in 8th standard. In your higher section you will study all the subglands also. So here endocrine glands, which are the glands. So let us study one by one. So the first one, when you observe the gland. So here it is a rough diagram of a human being. So where near the earlobe, so there is a gland. Here near the earlobe, there is a gland called pituitary. Earlobe, there is a paired gland that is called the pituitary. The first one is called the pituitary. Second one, it is called near the neck portion, below the neck portion, that is called thyroid gland. Thyroid gland. So in between that, inside that there is the button-like structure. So these are called parathyroid gland. Pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, and then so next gland. So near the kidney portion. Above the kidney, there is a triangular in shape, both two, that is called adrenal gland. So next, in between kidney portion, there is a gland called pancreatic gland. Pancreatic gland. Next to that, so when it comes to your sexual growth, in female, it is not like this in human being. It is male and female both diagram, and this for the study purpose are drawn. So here it is a female structure, that is sexual hormone producing in ovary, and testis in male. Testis in male and ovary in female. So total these two parts we are studying as a gonad. Again I repeat, near the earlobe pituitary, thyroid gland, inside the thyroid parathyroid gland, above the kidney adrenal gland, in between kidney there is a pancreatic gland, and below portion, that is a genital portion, ovary and testis together is called gonad. So let us study now each one gland, where it is present, so how it looks, and what is a chemical substance secreting from that, and what is the function, one by one. So let us study now the endocrine system, that is nothing but endocrine glands. So the first one present near the earlobe, that is the base of the brain. So if you take, this is a model of a brain. So it is consists of two halves. So if it is the base of the brain near the earlobe, for example, if you take the head portion. So these are the muscles with the blood vessels. So near our ear, so above the ear I have drawn the diagram, pituitary gland and base of the brain. This is the brain. Base of the brain consists of a gland called pituitary. So I have used some model of it is especially the model of a human being, that is especially it is related to digestive system, but I am using for the to study endocrine system. Base of the brain near our earlobe. Earlobe, there is a presence of pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is present in the base of the brain, that is near the earlobe. This is ear. This is base of the earlobe. So what it is meant for? Pituitary gland. So secretes an hormone. So it secretes an somatotrophic hormone, STH. So pituitary gland secretes an hormone. So that is called STH, somatotrophic hormone. What is that? So it controls, for example, the first one, pituitary. Pituitary, pituitary secretes somatotrophic hormone, and then it is called master gland. It is called master gland. Why it is called master gland or orchestral gland? So you are not going to study detail about all the hormones, because it will be studying in 10th standard again. So pituitary gland is called master gland. It controls, for example, from the throat region. First, brain. So brain is a control and coordination organ. We know that the base of the brain consists of near the earlobe two lobed structure, posterior and anterior, that is called the pituitary gland. Secretes a growth hormone. So it secretes growth hormone. Growth hormone. So growth hormone short form is GH. GH. So it is called a master gland because it secretes, it functions the growth, total our development, physical development, growth, etc. Second one, it controls the thyroid gland, and it controls parathyroid gland, and it controls adrenal gland. It controls prolactin, secreting the milk from the mammary gland. It controls melanocyte, and it controls the adrenal gland like emergency hormone, and it controls again vasopressin, water regulation in our kidney, and then it controls oxytocin, a birth hormone. During the birth of a child, the uterus will be enlarged. So that's why it is called the birth hormone, oxytocin. It is also controlled by pituitary, and also there are two hormones, luteinizing and follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone means it will helpful in the production of the gamete from the gonads, gametes from the gonad, and luteinizing hormone, related sexual maturity, or the secondary growth hormone will be released by luteinizing hormone. All these are controlled by a master gland, that is near our vein region. So mainly that is the region where it controls near the earlobe a small button-like structure called the pituitary gland. Let us study endocrine system or endocrine gland. So we are studying the first one called pituitary. It is called master gland. Pituitary is called master gland. The reason it controls all the hormones from the near the brain, that is the base of brain, pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, islets of Langerhans, that is pituitary, gonad, male and female sexual organ. So related that ovary and testis, that is called the gonad. It is also an endocrine gland. All these controlled by pituitary. So hence the pituitary gland is called the master gland. Which hormone? As I said, hormone is a chemical substance secreted in body, especially in that part. Directly it will send to the blood stream, and from the blood stream it will go to the target organ, means where the body part should activate. So that is called the target organ or the target gland. Here the pituitary, it is called master gland since it controls all the glands. So that's why it is called master gland or orchestral gland. So it secretes a hormone called growth hormone. So as I said, reaching the age of an adolescent, so that is from the 10 years to till 19 years, teenagers. So these growth hormone, the secondary growth can be absorbed. So from the birth of a child, the growth is in progress, but still in the secondary stage. They will secrete two hormones called testosterone and estrogen. Testosterone and estrogen. Testosterone from male, from boys, or estrogen from female. So these two hormones also it is secreted by pituitary gland. So what will happen if it is more, if it is less, or if it is medium? Growth hormone, every time it is secreting. So before puberty, when you will attain maturity, sexual maturity, that is called puberty. Before that, if it will secretes in excess. For example, think it is the brain. So base of the brain consists of pituitary near the earlobe. Near the earlobe, pituitary gland is present. So it will secrete growth hormone. If it is excess before puberty, before sexual maturity, then it is called, maybe you heard about a word called gigantism. Gigantism. Access to puberty. Access to puberty means, so before attaining sexual maturity, before 10 or 11 years itself, so the growth hormone secreting from pituitary. So this is nothing but, so I have drawn the diagram near your earlobe, that is the pituitary two-lobed diagram. So this is present here. So this will secrete growth hormone. If it is excess to puberty, called gigantism. Maybe you have observed some children, they grow beyond the limit. So that's why it is a high growth. So the growth period it is there. For example, it is sometimes it is related to your heredity or maybe releasing of your growth hormone. If it is excess means more before your sexual maturity, before 10 or 11 years, so then we will say it is called gigantism. So height will be increased in that person, so that is called gigantism. If it is less, the growth hormone, if it is less, so that child will be called dwarfism. Dwarfism means, so a person may be attain a height of only 3 below 3, etc. So the height is decreased, or there is a short growth of in human being. So because of less hormone, dwarfism. So that is a two term. So if it is more before the puberty, gigantism. If it is less, dwarfism, and also in adult. So after your sexual maturity, if you attained a stage of 18 and 19, next in adult after 40 or 50 years, so or maybe 30 above, then if it is more again, so then it is leads to myxedema. So where the protrusion of the nose, enlarging the nose, etc. So that is a symptom. So no need to study everything. So because, so you must know, that's why I am teaching the in detail about the pituitary gland. Keep in your mind, the first one is gigantism. Growth is more beyond the limit, that is excess growth hormone from pituitary. Second one, less, if it is less secreting. So the hormone secreting from this portion is very less. Then you can see the short growth, that is here it is called dwarfism. Height will be very less. So that's why it is called dwarfism. So these are the two. In adult, if it is there, it is called myxedema. So that is related to your pituitary gland, master gland secretes an hormone called growth hormone, but it will secrete, it will control all the hormone. So that's why it is called master gland. The second one, if you observe, the second term. So the second one, so we'll study, that is called thyroid gland. Thyroid. R-O-I-D, thyroid gland. Where it is present? Below the neck portion, below the neck portion. So this is a pituitary gland present near the earlobe. Next portion that is called the thyroid gland. So this is the thyroid gland. You can observe here there is a thyroid gland. In the diagram, the below the neck portion looks like a butterfly. So here this is called the thyroid gland. Observe carefully the thyroid gland. This is the thyroid gland. So this thyroid gland, what is mean for thyroid gland? So which hormone it will secrete? Thyroid gland secretes an hormone called thyroxine. Thyroxin, sometimes Xine. Thyroxine hormone. Why it is essential? It's very, very important in our body, thyroid gland. So this thyroid gland is meant to secrete a hormone called thyroxine. It controls all my metabolic activity. Metabolic activity. So it controls all metabolic activity, physical development, mental development, everything will be controlled by a small structure near the below the neck portion that is called, looks like butterfly, that is called thyroid gland. Gland is an organ. So it's made up of cells. So this is also an organ made up of cells to secrete chemical. From this, the chemical, imagine that there are the chemicals present here. It will secrete to the blood. Why it will secrete? It will secrete the blood to activate metabolic activity, physical mental development, mentally development or mental development. If it is not there, if it is more or less. So if it is less in our body, if the secretion will be less, then maybe you observe a term called simple goiter. Simple goiter. See the spelling? S-I-M-P-L-E-G-O-I-T-R-E. Simple goiter. Maybe you heard about the word. Maybe you have observed in some person the swollen gland. The gland will be enlarging. The gland will be enlarging here. So this is a thyroid gland. Because less secretion of an hormone called thyroxine, that is called simple goiter, swollen neck. So here there will be a gland, so they are hanging sometimes in the neck portion. So because the simple goiter, less amount of thyroxine. So why it is? So in our diet there is a one term called iodine deficiency. Deficiency of salt, iodine, simple term, deficiency of salt in our food diet leads to one term called simple goiter. So we are getting rain, South Kendra people is getting rain, that is simple goiter. The reason, in our atmosphere itself it is consist of salt. Coastal area people, because marine or sea, what it consists of salt content. In atmosphere also, in our food also, the salt content will be there. So that's why it is a rain, but in not area. So when you observe, so this is in more. Simple goiter, so iodine in my diet. What I have to protect? So what is the measure? So the doctor will advise to intake iodized salt. Iodized salt. Iodized salt, iodized salt, meaning, so the salt content, iodine, because thyroxine is consist of iodine, a chemical called iodine. It will balance iodine in my food. So that's why especially thyroxine, secretion of thyroxine controls the iodine or salt content in my body. So that's why thyroxine is very essential, control physically, mentally development. So that is called thyroxine. So these thyroxine, less if it is there, simple goiter, more it is there. Hypothyroidism, less deficiency of thyroxine, more, it secretes more. Then whether the solar gland. So here if it is more secreting, secretion is more, then it is called hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism. So in children also we must check our body. Our general checkup should be there routine wise. The reason is sometimes we don't know. So this thyroid will imbalance in our body, so it will affect our physical development, mental development, etc. So that's why hyperthyroidism. So frequent urination and maybe the vigor, stress, high blood pressure, etc. will be there in hypothyroid. In children, so whether the solar gland will be there, sometimes in child children, the disease is called cretinism. Protrusion of tongue will be enlarged in size. Protrusion of tongue, bow legs, these are the general symptoms. Stunted growth, the growth will be hidden, so that is also a defect of a thyroid. So that thyroid will secrete an hormone, thyroxine, controls the iodine. So we should intake iodized salt. Doctor will prescribe us to intake iodized salt. What is that meaning? Maybe you heard about in the packet, salt packet, iodized salt, refined iodized salt. Because iodine will be there in that salt, it will control or it will balance my iodine in my blood. So that's why, so I must take in my body itself, it is there, that is called thyroxine. So still I have to take iodized salt. It is better to my health. That is called thyroxine. The first one, pituitary, growth hormone. Second one, thyroid gland, secretes thyroxine. This is less only to you. So go through that topic a little only. So when you will be 10th standard, you are going to study each and every topic or subtopic of each gland. The next one. So in this butterfly-like gland, so if you observe in the butterfly-like gland, there are 4 button-like structure. 4 button-like structure called parathyroid gland. So this parathyroid gland. So the 4 button-like structures called parathyroid gland. So now we'll study what is parathyroid, where it is present. The parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland. 4 button-like structure. Identification. This is thyroid gland. In that 4 button-like structure called parathyroid. Which hormone it secretes? Parathormone. Parathormone is secreting from parathyroid gland. In this 4 button-like structure it is present. That is called parathyroid. Secretes parathormone. What it will control? It will control calcium salt in my blood. Calcium salt in my blood and bone. Calcium. My bone looks in marine color, white in color, creamish in color. Indication presence of calcium. So it is necessary to my body. So if it is less, I'll get muscle cramp. If it is less, I'll get muscle cramp. So what do you mean by muscle cramp? So in your limbs portion, so the muscle, there is a secretion, less secretion of lactic acid. So in that case, there is a less amount of parathormone, leads to the muscle cramp. If it is more, if it is less, muscle cramp. If it is more, then it is called the spongy bone. If it is excess, spongy bone. What do you mean by spongy bone? So if the parathormone is more, so our bone is very smooth in structure like a flesh only. So that's why it is called spongy bone. So these are the thyroid and parathyroid. Parathyroid especially consists of an hormone called parathormone, controls calcium salt in my blood and in my bone. So that is the third one. Let us study now one more, emergency hormone. Emergency hormone and the gland which produces insulin. So that we'll study one by one. Next one, after parathyroid, next one is called adrenal, where it is present. As I said, they'll give the diagram, but this year you won't get the diagram to identify here the two kidney, a pair of kidneys. So here in these above the kidney you can observe a triangular in shape, a triangular yellow color in structure. So this is nothing but adrenal gland. What is this? It is called adrenal gland. So which hormone adrenal gland is secreting? So this will secrete, from here chemical substance will flow to blood. So when it will flow, for example, maybe you have observed, suddenly if a truck speeding towards you, what will do? So will shout with fear, or maybe so will frighten, or maybe will run away from there, etc. So all these processes, for example, if I stump a thorn, so I lift my leg. So these are the symptoms or how I can recognize. So as I said, control and coordination structure is the brain. So it will control through the chemical coordination. So which chemical is secreting in our body for the emergency? Why it is called emergency hormone? Adrenal gland secretes an hormone called adrenaline. Adrenaline. It secretes an hormone called adrenaline, commonly called emergency hormone. Emergency hormone. Why? So during fear, anxiety, stress, etc., it secretes an hormone called adrenaline, a chemical. This is a chemical secretes from which gland? Adrenal gland. So that's why it is called adrenaline. Above the kidney, triangular in shape too. So that is called adrenal gland. So this is called emergency hormone. Whenever I am in fear, anxiety, stress, so it will secrete. How it will secrete? Whenever I run, so my heartbeat will raise. What is any relation between adrenaline and emergency hormone or adrenal gland? Yes, to increase the heartbeat, because so the heartbeat, so I will get maximum efficiency of oxygen. So if hemoglobin is more, efficiency of the oxygen. So here oxygen I require high amount of oxygen. So in that case, the balancing the body, so total to balance, to fight against all. So that's why it is called emergency hormone. So that's why there is a one more name, 3F hormone. 3F hormone. Name the 3F hormone. Adrenaline. Name the gland. Adrenaline will be secreted, that is adrenal gland. Fright, fight, flight. Fright, fight, flight. So these are the three terms. So always it will activate in our body during emergency. During emergency, my body will face that emergency situation. So it will balance my body, otherwise will die. So that's why when the heartbeat will raise up, I need oxygen in high amount. It will be balanced by adrenaline, that is called emergency hormone. Next to below that adrenaline. So I said this is not related to your endocrine gland model, but still I will show that. So below that, so this is the kidney. Above the kidney, adrenal gland, emergency hormone. Below the kidney portion, above the kidney portion, there is the presence of adrenal gland secretes. In between, you can observe a gland called islets of Langerhans. So this is the pituitary gland. So where it is situated? This pituitary gland. So pituitary gland in between a kidney, pituitary gland consists of, this is a pituitary, inside this there is a gland called islets of Langerhans. It is not in pituitary, it is called the pancreatic gland, where consists of islets of Langerhans. So this is an gland where it secretes two hormones called insulin and glucagon. So we are studying only insulin and glucagon. From where it is secreting? pancreatic gland consists of, this is the pancreatic gland. So if you enlarge in diagram, so maybe you have studied in 7th standard pancreatic gland. So in this there is a gland, islets of Langerhans. So this secretes a hormone called insulin. You are very familiar with the word insulin, or maybe you heard about the term called insulin. When in my blood or when in my body the blood will flow in excess. When it will flow in excess, there is a hormone secretion, insulin also will be in normal. When blood will be excess, it will flowing in excess in hormone, in excess glucose consists of an hormone called insulin. Glucose will be there in my blood. So this glucose, when it is very high in my blood, there is a secretion of insulin, also it will equal. When insulin will be less, when insulin will be less in my blood, so both it is in excess. When insulin will be less, suddenly this glucose content will be very high. So when the glucose content will be very high, normally we call sugar. So these glucose consist of very high, so it will secrete through urine. So glucose will be very high in my body, this will secrete through my urine. This position or this symptom, it is called diabetic mellitus or diabetic patients. So maybe only it is not in adult, so we can observe in the age between 10 also, below 10 or maybe above 10 also we can observe, or you can observe in students also. We can heard about the word called diabetic. I am suffering with the diabetes. The term diabetic, here it is. So in pancreas, islets of Langerhans gland, this secretes insulin. When it will be less in my blood, in the blood the glucose level will be high. This glucose will flow outside my body, will remove outside my body through urine, it will flow in high amount glucose. That's why it is called diabetic mellitus. So where in that patient we are insisting to give insulin tablets or injection in the maximum case. So that is insulin injection will be given, so to control the glucose level. So that is called the diabetic mellitus. That is from pancreas, that is islets of Langerhans. This is a gland, this is an organ. So from this organ there is a gland. So in this gland the secretion of insulin, so it will control my glucose level or glucose in the blood. So the last two we are studying, and very important because the lesson itself says the reaching the age of adolescence. From male testosterone, in female estrogen. Let us study one by one. So last we are studying a role of hormones in reproductive stage. In reproductive stage we have studied till now pituitary, growth hormone, thyroid, thyroxine controls physical and mental development, parathyroid controlling calcium, salt in my blood and bone, adrenal emergency hormone, islets of Langerhans control insulin in my blood. So gonad, the last two term is called gonad. The lesson, reaching the age of adolescence. And male organ, that is called testis. In male it is called testis, secretes an hormone called, gonad means two together. It is differentiating sexual maturity. So here testis, a male hormone called testosterone. Testosterone mean for why it is mean in my body. Testosterone controls secondary sexual characters. Secondary sexual characters in male. Testosterone at the age of 10, 11, 12, 13. So when a boy can see he entered puberty or sexual maturity, in that case from his organ genital portion, testis, where testis produces a gamete called, so these testis organ, so produce an hormone called testosterone. A male sexual cell is called the testis, so produces testosterone. Why? Secondary sexual character. Which are the secondary sexual character? A growth of the hair on the facial or on the face, mustache, beard, etc. And under the arm the hair will grow or maybe near the genital portion, etc. The shoulder will be widening, voice will change or voice will crack. So all these are the symptoms of testosterone. If testosterone is producing in boys, that shows for the secondary sexual character. Androgen totally in male. This is in the age of secondary growth, that is called testosterone. The next one in female, in girl. So the hormone secreting through gonad from the ovary, testis, testosterone from the ovary secretes an hormone called estrogen. Estrogen. Estrogen, sometimes the spelling is O-E-S-T-R-O, same, you can pronounce estrogen, that is in female. So if it will be secreting, if it will be flowing in my body, or a chemical from that, a chemical name is called estrogen. In that case, so the mammary gland and the breast will enlarge and it will develop, and then the mammary gland will develop to secrete milk especially. So in female, mammary gland will develop. That is a growth of the breast in female and hair growth in some of the organs, etc. So these are the symptoms of a secondary sexual character in female, secondary sexual character in male. Testis. Testis produces testosterone. Why? To show the secondary sexual character. In female, ovary secretes estrogen. So especially to develop mammary gland, to develop the breast. In female, to feed the young ones in the future. So this is called the estrogen, especially during this period. So if the estrogen will flow, secondary sexual character. So if the girl will start to, here it is, boys, the secondary sexual cell, it is called the sperm, but here it is sperm. So this is the sperm in male. In female, that is called eggs. It's not the eggs what we are observed. This is the eggs in female. When the child will born as a female, the egg will start to grow, but at the stage of, or maybe what we'll say, at the age of puberty, sexual maturity, it will start to mature. For example, so in your structure, that is called, so this is the female genital portion. When the eggs will, here, eggs will start to produce, that is an estrogen that attains maturity here. So these eggs will flow to the uterus. So when the eggs will mature every month, so it will start to form, or maybe it will settle in uterus. With these layer wall of the uterus will start to break. So if it is egg is not matured, or maybe there is no fertilization. If there is no fertilization, there is no sexual contact, these egg will flow here. The wall will start to rupture. The uterus wall will start to rupture. With this blood, the unfertilized egg will flow outside through a blood form or a liquid form. This is called menstruation. So this is called menstruation. A menstrual cycle for every 20 to 28 days or 1 month. So each 1 month after attaining sexual maturity, so unfertilized egg will flow outside the body to the vagina. So that cycle, that period, it is called menstruation. So we have studied now how the sexual maturity will be attained. So secondary sexual character, that is from the gonad. So testosterone from testis, estrogen from ovary. So it leads to a term, especially in girls, every month there is a unfertilized egg with the blood that will flow outside. So these are called the menstrual cycle. That indicates the girl attained puberty. So all these we have studied related to a role of hormones or chemicals in reproductive stage. So next we are going to study. So related, what are the changes and which structure in boys especially, that is called Adam's apple or the vocal cord voice box crack. What is that? That we'll study in our next class.